Hey everyone, welcome back to the show. On today's episode, we're bringing back someone who's been here before, Peter, the community manager of the SingularityNET Ambassador Program. Peter, we're glad to have you back today. How are you feeling?
All good here. Thanks for having me.
Okay, so let's go back to the beginning. The last time was a bit of rushing and we didn't cover a lot of topic. And let's be very honest, it was quite formal and not as relaxing. So let's make today a very good. So, what was the ambassador program like when it first started? Like when everything was new? Let's say, how many people started the ambassador program?
Well, initially, this is May 2022. We were 7 people, I think. Yeah, 7. And well, yeah, that basically is what kicked us off. We had a bunch of like over time. Like right now, I think we have 21 work groups. At the very start, we had only one. We were just the work group.
Oh, really?
And then at some point, when trying to, when you're building an organization, the very first work group we had was Process Guild, basically trying to puzzle out the processes of building a community. And then let's see what came after. I think translation was at the very beginning as well. Maybe after a month, because it's
Why
a relatively
translation first? Sorry, so sorry to cut you off, but why translation first? Why not marketing? Why translation? Or were you guys just going with the flow? Did you have the plan to have this many guilds from the start? It was just has more people come, then we'll go with the flow.
Yeah, go with the flow, organic, I would say. Basically, we started with translations because it felt like a low-hanging fruit, like the main content being the blog posts that are getting translated. These blog posts already existed, right? So that
Right?
very big part is already there, and you then only just need a translation.
Okay.
Yeah, that was a low-hanging fruit, and it was not really the intention to have like there never was a plan like, oh, we need 21 work groups, let's go and try to get there. It was that's just how things evolved over time, who did what. So for me, capturing contributions on chain, that would be the most important thing.
Okay, that's very good. So from the guilds and work groups are a big part of the community now. So for someone who is just joining, how would you describe the role each guild play? Okay, let's pick a particular work group. For someone who's just joining, let's see, which work group should I pick out of? Let's use let's use the easier one. Let's use marketing. For someone who's just joining, what role would you say marketing guild is playing?
Well, it kind of depends on the person who joins, right?
Well,
If you
a
like
new
to help out
member.
on marketing, then the marketing guild is the place for you. If you want to help out on translating, for example, you don't need to go to the marketing guild.
Right.
I would say it really starts with the person and trying to figure out how they want to contribute, what are their skills, what are their ambitions, and from there try and puzzle out which work group that fits into.
Okay. Well. All right. Is there any other work group you'd like to talk about? Is there any work group that stands out the most to you that you would like to enlighten the viewers and our listeners on?
I think there's a lot of great work being done, and I'm not gonna pick a favorite in that sense. I try
Yeah,
to.
well, this is not about you picking a favorite. This is you just picking a work group or a guild to actually just show our viewers and our listeners what to expect. Just pick one or two. Just say something for us.
That's a hard one.
It's
I like
hard.
governance.
Should I
I
pick?
personally really like governance quite a lot. It's in a way, it's the essence of what we're doing. Is like
Well, it aligns with you being a community manager, right? So
It does,
it's kind
yes.
of expected, right?
Well, I mean, I could call out others as well. I don't know. To me, pretty much all the work groups, like, we wouldn't have them if they don't serve a purpose, right? So, like, I found myself just not having enough time in the week to be part of all the work groups. Not anymore, at least. I tried that for a little while, or for quite a while, actually. But then at some point there were all kind of red flags popping up, like, okay, you really can't be working 70 hours a week, so you need to make some choices. That's something I quite dislike. Like, we need a little bit more time in the week. That would be cool. Like, I find myself, for example, not really being able to join Education Guild, but I think they're doing great work, and it's really important. And yeah, that's a bit of a downside of having so many work groups. There's just too much happening, right?
Right. It's kind of almost hard to keep track of which work group or which guild to actually focus on, or which work group or guild you actually want to contribute the most to. To juggle everything is kind of, should I say, a struggle. Yeah. I
Yeah,
made
it
a
is.
rhyme there. To juggle everything is kind of a struggle. Oh my. So, let's say you, I would like to hear your take on decentralized community building. Actually, what can you say about it?
Well, I think the main part, at least within ambassador program context, is that there's not a top-down directive, like the foundation saying, like, oh, you need to do this, this, this.
Yeah.
In that sense, it's really grassroots, and yeah, we try to stick to the spreading the word about SingularityNET, and all we do should be in line with the mission and vision of SingularityNET, which I think we are doing. But to me, the decentralized part would be that anybody that's interested and willing and wants to join in and help out, they should be able to.
So, what does it actually mean in a program like this, in the ambassador program, where we don't have a single leader, but we still have a structure? Because speaking of which, we actually don't have a leader per se, but we have a structure that we follow, and we are quite organized, and it's working out for us. So,
Well, to me, that is decentralization, right? There's not one
right.
person at the lead saying, "Listen to me, I have the plan, and this is how we're going to do it."
Hmm.
We try to discuss a lot and puzzle out together as a group where we think we should be going. I think that's really strong.
Well, and do you think we are building that kind of community here, or is it still a work in progress?
Well, it's never finished. So in that sense, yes, it's a process. Well, I
Mm,
think we're relatively successful. Like, in the past, we had some issues, for example, where we didn't really have puzzled it out yet how we wanted to go about it, and we thought, like, oh, maybe we need some group of, like, a leadership team kind of group. And well, pretty quickly that turned out to be harder than it sounded. um like, if you have a group for, let's say, on Discord, for example, we would have people with the ambassador tag, and yeah, it was just really confusing because the I think it was back then maybe 11 people that had that tag. um
mm,
we would have a channel where only people with the ambassador tag would be discussing kind of leadership strategy kind of things. And that's just really bad example of transparency, and kind of creates this elitist kind of feeling where people are like, okay, so it's an ambassador program, but if I join, I cannot get the ambassador tag and be in the leadership kind of discussions.
yeah.
Yeah, that didn't take too long before we kind of got rid of that, and try to and that's basically when we shifted more towards core contributors. And yeah, if you have the core contributor status based on what you're doing over the past half year, it ties back to everything being registered on chain, so we can look back, see what has been done, and that brings a list of core contributors. And those people, they have governance power, as in they can join in the governance process. So yeah, in a way, we've come quite a long way, but it's never finished.
Yeah.
As you're well aware, we have a lot of discussions still on how to puzzle out things. Most of the governance is around budgets, which, in a way, that's the world we live in. Not really a way to escape that. But to me, it always feels a little bit like a necessary evil almost, that we need to be talking about money so much, because we simply do have a
Right.
limited amount of money, so we can't not talk about it. We need to make sure the little amount we have, that it goes to the right places. So yeah, most of the governance we do is around budgets. Sadly, I would add, because it would be way more fun if we wouldn't have to spend so much time talking about the money, but more about what we're doing with the money and the cool stuff we're building. But yeah, how do you
Well,
change
we
this?
are all humans, right? And everything we humans actually do or contribute, we all expect a reward. Like we we have people who do them voluntarily, but then we still always have that uh deep feeling that, oh, I did this, I need to be compensated for this, or I'm doing this so I could get compensated for it. So I think uh it's like you said, a necessary evil. Well, let me take you back. Let me take you back when you mentioned that you we just had ambassadors. I remember back then when it was just I think process guild, process treasury, and translations. We had just those three meetings, and during the week you just have to know that you have just process and treasury guild meetings to attend. And then we had this structure where we had ambassadors, and all of a sudden there was this, it worked for a while and just shifted to core contributors. Like, why not stick to ambassadors? Because okay, now we are the SingularityNET ambassadors program, and for the name ambassadors, what does it mean? Because when I try explaining to new people out there that, oh, join the ambassadors program, we do we are we are the people that spread the word about SingularityNet and its ecosystem out large, everything that encompasses the SingularityNet ecosystem. So, as an ambassador, what is our role? But now that we don't have the ambassador role anymore and we have core contributors, um, if I'm going to tell someone outside, am I meant to say, if you join the ambassador program, you're going to become a core contributor or you're going to become an ambassador? But now we don't have the ambassador tag. So, what am I meant to call it? Uh,
Well, I would say if you are participating and contributing, yeah, you can call
mm,
yourself an ambassador. But at the same time, there's a
okay.
bigger, almost like a higher level misnomer, where we are called an ambassador program, and we do some things that ambassador programs do. But if you compare us to pretty much any ambassador program, we're not quite the same.
Mm,
We're way more, pretty much like a DAO, I guess. I mean, there's
mm-hmm,
differences, but
mm-hmm,
um, most ambassador programs are not as decentralized, and you don't see budget management, for example, on the work group level. It's way more top down. Um, yeah, I personally think that's not the way. I think the grassroots approach is yeah, just it creates ownership and a sense of like, you made something and you're part of it, and yeah, to me that's just way stronger. Um, at the same time, I wouldn't really rename ourselves into something like community DAO. I wouldn't be against it, I guess, but we're also not really a DAO by definition. We're quite. It's maybe weird coming from me to say I'm not the person that should qualify it, but in a way, I feel we're doing not something a standard ambassador program does, not something a standard DAO does. We're like kind of our organically grown unique breed in there.
right. Okay. Okay. Well, thanks for that. Thanks for that. Well, in a community like this where people are showing up, helping out, creating value, where we are contributing consistently in these guilds, work groups, and in calls. How can we track that? Like, how can we track their contributions, fair and square? How do we make sure their work is seen and heard?
Um, well, pretty much by every time a task is done, we try and capture it on dwork, just like Web3 Trello board, if that helps. It's basically a task
Yeah.
management system. So all the work groups have somebody that usually the work group leads. Some work groups have a dedicated role for it. To try and capture all the tasks that are being done. And then there's a whole tagging system connected to that. And these tags also get captured in the metadata by your treasury system. So making sure how everything gets kept. That's down to the person who does the tasks creation on Beaver.
So sorry for continuation. Um, um, do you mean these contributions, are they recorded on chain? Are this this system, is it on chain, or is it just a data in the ambassador program,
Well, so the
or are there
tasks.
any plans to make it on chain?
Well, the tasks themselves are not on chain, but the description of the task is captured in the transaction when you make a translation, and it's uploaded and it's all good. Then you get a reward in tokens, and that transaction sending you those tokens that has information to it, explaining what the task is you did. So the metadata there is where everything is captured.
Okay. All right. All right. Um. Well, the system we follow in this ambassador program, do you see this kind of system adopted anywhere else, or like Web3 wise in other decentralized spaces?
I think it would be good. Otherwise, we would be doing things different, right?
All right.
I think so. I mean, to me, if you zoom out a little bit, why you would even try to capture all that stuff? To me personally, in the context of SingularityNET building towards an AGI, now before we have this AGI, trying to in an experimental way, trying to play around with decentralized systems, that creates a lot of data, and that data later can be implemented into systems where, for example, AI agents can learn from what the humans are doing right now. And that's not to say like they should be taking over at some point, but especially in the light of beneficial AGI, I could definitely see a lot of collaborations starting to happen over the coming years, where agents would pop up, observe how the humans do things, and then emulate, copy, maybe improve. So in a sense that a lot of what we're doing right now, I hope at least, will turn into inputs for systems later on.
Well, the SingularityNet ambassador program's name is getting more out there right now. I see the marketing guild, they are trying to put more efforts to getting our reach out there, and I see other guilds and work groups also trying to get our name out there. And one project that its name has been ringing and I've been seeing out there is the BGI Nexus project. Um, this might be new to some other people, but not quite new to me. How did that come to be? What can you share about it? I'm pretty sure our viewers would want to learn more for people that don't know about it.
Yeah, fair. Well, BGI Nexus, it all started in a little more than a year ago, in February 2024. There was a big, or the first BGI summit in Panama, organized by SingularityNET. And that's basically, it brings together a lot of people that want to contribute and collaborate towards the beneficial general intelligence. And I would say it's all about trying to collaborate and then bringing people together. Then there's not a given playbook on how to get to an AGI that's also beneficial to humanity. So in that sense, it's a big puzzle, and to me, BGI is trying to help speed up finishing that puzzle. And you can see this, for example, in they organized a deep funding RFP round, and well, the BGI also did a RFP round a month ago ish, and basically offering about $500,000 for, I think in total 11 projects were awarded. Don't quote me on that. You can read the blogs, but basically trying to fund initiatives around working towards BGI, and there's a lot of focus on the ethical side of things, on alignment, and that's also something we are helping out with through the AI ethics work group. We do quite a lot of interviews that feed into BGI Nexus. It's basically interviewing people about their view on things, like how do you think, how can we ensure when AGI emerges that it's actually beneficial to humanity and not becoming, it's the old adagium of most AI being based on, for example, advertisement or weapon systems. Like these are, the traditional origins, and that's just not the right starting point, right? We need compassion, and we need to help humanity flourish rather than getting into some dystopian sidetrack as a species. And well, yeah, there's one another conference coming up in let me say it correctly. I believe it's August. Quickly double check, but I think it's in August in Istanbul. And it will be interesting to see if we made any progress compared to a year and a little bit ago back in Panama. Ideally, over the years, you would see things evolving. So yeah, quite looking forward to that.
Well, we look forward to that. And uh, this conference, is it something that you could sponsor? Core contributors, core contributors. Not everybody might have the chance to. Not everybody might have the chance, or should I say, the financial support to actually be at that conference, and they might actually really want to be at that conference. I remember, I'm not sure if you know about it, but there was something like that. There was this conference, if it was last year, that was meant to happen in Turkey with deep funding, but then it had to get cancelled because not um uh we had some members that couldn't like get their visa verified on time, and
Yeah.
they were really the main audiences for that conference, and in respect of those people, they had to like just cancel the trip. It was just meant to be like a get together. So something like that can is this for this conference, is there any plans, or am I putting it to you to have plans like that for other people?
Well, we did have 4 people going to Panama, and in my mind, that was really useful. And I would definitely like to do that for Istanbul as well. I just checked it; it's October rather than August. Sorry for that.
All right.
But yeah, right now it's still in time to work around topics like visa. It's the only downside. Like to me, it's one of the best things is to meet people at the events, because there's so many people that you work with over the years, always through this webcam setup
Right.
rather than actually being face to face and being humans. You need to see and
Right.
feel each other.
That
So yeah, I would be really much in favor of having core contributors go there. There is, however, one a very practical thing. It's just silly expensive to make people travel. So yeah, there's that side. Like I think during the Panama one, we allocated money from the reserves to this, which yeah,
oh
in itself, I'm not against. I think it's a relatively good way of spending reserves. However, always when the discussion is about reserves, there's this strong realization that you can only spend reserves once. Once they're gone, that's it. So yeah, that will take a little bit of discussion, I feel, on the money side of things. But it's definitely doable.
mm, okay. Well, that it would actually be a very nice thing, and I'm pretty sure if something like that should actually happen, the it would make people happy. At least it would make me happy. Right. Honestly, because I would really like to meet um other members, because we always have this online calls, and it would be really nice to actually see and actually shake hands and be like, hi, it's because of, oh, hi, that's you, Peter, something really cool.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, back to this. So every community has its ups and downs. There are challenges. I don't think there's a gathering where there are no conflicts, or some rules or something somewhere. So how do you get that solved? How does it work? How are decisions made? Pretty sure it's governance, but then how do you do it in governance? How are the decisions made? How do you settle conflicts?
Um,
Or how do you settle decisions that needs to be settled?
well, the straight up answer would be talking a lot. um, Sometimes too much. I think you've also been in meetings where there's 1 hour
Because
meeting slot, and 2 hours later you're still talking in that meeting.
trust me, I understand.
Comes with the territory, I'm afraid. No, I think most of what we do is based on consent. So we try to. Somebody comes up with, can be anything, a proposal for whatever the thing is. Then we try to do a check, like, are people in favor? Would you approve this proposal? Or would you object to it? And if you object to it, please also share why. And if it makes sense why you would be objecting, then we try to puzzle out, okay, so how can we take these worries away so the objection becomes a consent? And I think for most of the bigger topics, that's our approach. At the same time, on a workgroup level, workgroups can they have the autonomy to decide how they want to go about this. If they feel like, well, we just have a simple hands up vote and majority rules, they can. That happens. It's a bit simpler. It takes a little bit less time as well. But I'm personally quite happy with the experiences on the consent process so far. It's not everybody wins all the time, but to me it kind of feels like the overall outcome is always a good one. Of course there's conflicts as well sometimes. We have a little process for that in place, which fortunately doesn't get used that often. Otherwise it would mean we're fighting all the time, and that's luckily not the
Right.
case. But there again, talking is a recurrent theme. First step is almost always to try and have an informal solution, just the people involved trying to puzzle it out. Sometimes that's enough and it works. At other times, it doesn't, and basically then at that point you try to take it away from the people and make it less personal, but just a bit more objective if it's possible, and have a bigger group check the topic and try to puzzle out a middle way. That's generally the process. So it's a lot of talking.
Well, since we do it online, there's going to be lots of talking. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, so with all these processes and structures that have been adopted and built over time in the ambassador program, which process stands out to you the most, or which structure, like which should I call it a scenario, or like, I'm still going to go with structure and process, because we all in the ambassador program is all about structure and processes and guidelines. So which structure or process do you actually sit back and be like, oh, this really worked out well back then or right now, and you just think back to it and be like, well, you're glad this structure is now in place, or you're glad this process is now in place? Just
Well, it's multiple. I would say the combination of having a treasury system and an archiving system that kind of, it's very formal, but it's like the guardrails almost to make things work, and to not forget about decisions being made. The archiving part. At the same time, exactly this podcast would be a great example of there being space for something like this podcast would be an example, because the system is there where somebody stepping up with an initiative gets to do it, and here we are. Like, we had a podcast before, which was great fun, done by Julian, who did an amazing job at it. I really enjoyed those sessions. And yeah, over time that didn't work out, and still now we have a system where, in this case, you stepping up, saying like, I want to do a podcast, and you can, and there's room for that. To me, that's really strong.
yes. So thanks. Well, this I'm glad to be part of this. So, Peter, what has been your best part of being in this program so far? Well, what has been the best moment? Or you would definitely have a moment that you sit back and reminisce, and or past members. I don't want us to use past members, so you won't have to be you will look like you have a favorite or something. So let's just use your best moments. That
Okay.
is your best moments or your best parts of being in the program.
To be honest, it's a combination of two. Like just one specific moment would be during Cardano Summit 2022, meeting Felix for the first time. We were just running towards each other and jumping, and like, woo, we finally got
Really?
to. So, I mean, I don't do that often, so that for sure comes up as a highlight. But it's the same in other events. Just really connecting with people. That's always the those are real highlights, for sure.
I can actually totally. I can't picture you jumping around, but then I can totally imagine the excitement of meeting someone that you've been conversing over the phone or over the screen. I can imagine seeing them for the first time. Uh, I can imagine the excitement. Yeah. So are you trying to tell me? So your best moment is just meeting Felix? Please come and give us.
That's just an example of like one very high energy happiness moment. So that's why I brought
Okay.
it up.
All right. All right. All right. Okay. Where do you hope the ambassador program goes next? Not just growth in numbers. Where would you love to see the ambassador program? Let's say in 3 years. Let's not go too far. In 3 years, that's like still close. 3, 5 years.
Well, we've been around for 3 years, so 3 years in the future feels like a good pinpoint. I would
Do you think we'd
hope
have more work groups? Oh, cute.
we could. It depends. Like, if there's a need for it, I don't think we should be blocking it. I would say at that point, well, I would hope our data at that point feeds into a reputation system where, for example, if somebody anywhere Web3, they're looking for somebody to help out with whatever task it is. Could be hosting a podcast, it could be writing a blog or making an infographic, a task. If we would have a system where across all kind of different ecosystems, like whether you're doing something for the ambassador program or you're helping out in deep funding, doing something in a circle there, or maybe building a proposal, or you're offering compute to NuNet, you might be giving biodata to Rejuve, like all these kind of small contributions. I would hope we have a reputation system where all of this feeds into, and in a kind of like modular way, so that if you query the reputation system, you as a person who wants to know the information, you can tick a couple of boxes. Like, I want somebody that I want to put a bonus weight to somebody that's in Mindplex writing articles, or in NuNet offering compute to the network. In that modular way, I would then also like ambassador program to be one of the weights. Yeah, I think that would be the coolest, to have it actually be part of something bigger. And of course, outside of the numbers, I wish all our videos and blogs get 20 times the views, of course. That's a given.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, that's a very optimistic and good view for the ambassador program. Well, do you still think, would you still be the community manager by then? Because we have members that started this ambassador program with you, and I don't think it's still the same members that are still around now. And regardless of what might have happened, they made an impact to this ambassador program. So, do you still think Peter in 3 years is still going to be in the ambassador program?
That's a good question. I hope so. At
I
the
hope
same
so
time,
too.
every now and then I do have, we're all about decentralization.
Right.
So in a way, having one person in a certain spot for a long time, that might not be the best. So yeah, in that sense, I'm not entirely sure if, like, I would still very much like to be part of it, but perhaps at some point it could be time for, well, further decentralizing, let's say.
Oh,
So
come on.
yeah,
Don't break our hearts now.
I mean, I think like it's always the same, right? If you have one person in one position for 10 years,
True.
yeah, that also comes with a little bit of downside. Also upside, like a lot of experience, yada yada.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's take some moments to give some credits. Eh? So, who are some people, past or present? Should we just do past, but past or present, that made a real impact on the ambassador program? Let's do past, so the presents don't feel like they're not doing something. Let's
Yeah,
do
fair.
past. Let's do
Well,
so.
I think first of all that would be the group we had when we started out. People like Fly You Fools, Crandano, Tevo, Felix, Head Elf, the Fries. Julian was around pretty early. Sugar and Spice, Rojo, Kenichi. Yeah, and then it gets to the point where I'm starting to feel bad about not calling out other names. You've been around quite long as well. That's true.
So, so I go back and I miss some members, and it's actually all right to give credits to the past members. It's good to give them the spotlight once in a while. Not everybody hears their name in the ambassador program, so it's not a bad idea.
Yeah,
But
it's true. We do have a lot of
well,
recorded meetings still available, but yeah,
right.
in reality, nobody's gonna watch a 3-year-old meeting, right? That just doesn't happen.
Okay. So, Peter, is there anything I'm missing, or is there anything I've missed that you'd like to enlighten us or talk about? Please, you have the floor.
Well, one of the things I'm quite looking forward is follow up on the supervisory council we had. This, I think, will be very interesting also to the ambassador program. Their aim would mostly be the wider SingularityNET community, not just ambassadors or not just deep funding or BGI. But I think we can, interface quite a lot there. It's currently still a little bit. It's more behind the scenes than public facing. The plans on that. So I won't spoil the beans fully, but that's something I'm definitely looking forward to a lot. And well,
Can you really tell us what the Supervisory Council Alliance is about? Because even I myself do not. I hear about it. I've seen it. But I do not really have that profound knowledge on it. So, is it something you'd like to enlighten us about?
yeah, I can give a bit of an overview. It's basically the idea started as a couple of having a council by a couple of people that kind of like keep the what's the word? My English is breaking down a little. Almost like an ombudsman kind of functionality towards the community. Like when there's an issue between the foundation and the community, they would kind of like be the middleman to puzzle that out. And well, when it was started in, I think the first supervisory council was elected in 2021. At that point, it didn't really shape up the way it was envisioned. It just didn't really happen for a multitude of reasons. Not trying to blame people in that supervisory council, but it just didn't quite work out. And then after that, for a while nothing happened, and then we had an intermediate supervisory council which worked on building out the decentralization blueprint. Well, that happened, and yeah, that was intended to be a 6-month only intermediate supervisory council, and now the follow-up after that hasn't shaped up yet. So it will, as I mentioned, it will shift a bit more from supervisory council towards community council. And the current thinking there is that they would be able to, for example, initiate an RFP round with a focus purely on community. And yeah, that's the part I'm really curious about and looking forward to. But yeah, over the years, it's been in flux, let's say. It didn't find its final form yet, and that's still ongoing.
Okay. Well, okay. That sounds like a good process if it actually works out the way you expect it to, and I look forward to it also.
There should
Sorry.
be updates coming somewhere. I think Q3 could be happening.
I need to say something regarding the town halls. What's it like at? I've been at town halls, and I remember back then our town hall was always interactive. Now we have lots of guilds and work groups, so we have this monthly updates where we give each work group and guilds give their updates, and it seems so formal during moments like that. I think mostly during the monthly updates, it's almost just like just updates and updates. But aside the monthly updates for town hall, what's the town hall like? When you want to invite new members or listeners and viewers to come for this town hall, what would you tell them? How would you invite them to the town hall?
Well, I would say it's the place to be if you want to get a taste of what the current topics are. Basically, it's a weekly call where whatever is happening during those times, gets discussed. And sometimes we step a little bit away and then zoom out a little bit and try to have a brainstorm on I don't know, it can be anything. There's a lot of variety, and there's also a lot of room for anybody to contribute to the agenda, and basically introduce a topic, which we then can have discussed with the wider community. I think that's about it.
Okay. So, our viewers and listeners, that's it. The town hall is the perfect place to be if you want to know about the current topics in the ambassador program. If you want to know about the guilds and work groups, what to do, how we do it, just tune in to our town halls every Tuesday at 18 UTC, and we would love to see everyone there. Please join us. Come learn, come engage, come and. All right. That's it for today. Peter, thank you so much for coming back. This was
Thank
much
you.
more fun and we relaxed than the last time. We appreciate the time you've given us today. And to everyone watching, if you're curious about the ambassador program, don't be shy. Like I've said before, the town hall is the best place to really learn about the ambassador program. Join our Discord, tune in to every meetings that you can actually contribute to. We would love to have you there. You can say hi in the chat. It's open to everyone, and the ambassador program is for everybody like you. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. See you on the next one, guys. Bye. Bye, Peter.
Bye. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for hanging out with us. Bye.